Hi, my name is Bibek Adhikari. I am an English instructor. In today's class, we are going to solve the grammar and writing portion of Unit 6, that is, A Cruel Landlord. So, let's begin. Alright, we are now going to start the exercise portion of Unit 6, followed by grammar questions and the last section, which is called Fun with Writing. So, we are going to do these three things today. All right, that's going to be our plan. Three different things. So starting from exercise portion of the chapter called A Cruel Landlord, followed by the grammar questions and fun with the writing section. So let's start. All right, then we are going to start the first exercise portion that says answer the following question. Let's look at the first question. The first question we have is, what was the landlord like? And we've got to answer the first question. So the answer of, first question is, so let's write that. What was the landlord like? So we can write the landlord was a bad man. You can also add, he was also very cruel. We can also write he never smiled, he never laughed, never danced, but those are optional answer. All right, so this is the basic answer. The question is, how was the landlord like, or what was the landlord like? And the answer to that question is, the landlord was a bad man. He was also very cruel. Now let's try answering the second question. Let's try the answer of the second question. The second question is, why was he called a bad man? So we can write, he was called a bad man because he never allowed his servants to rest. We can write simply rest. For smile or laugh or dance, I'm going to use the word rest. So rest seems the proper word. The answer to the second question is, he was called a bad man because he never allowed his servants to rest. All right. Now let's move on to solving the third question. Now we are going to answer the third question. By the way, the third question is, why were the servants very sad? So we can write, the servants were very sad because they worked all day long and never got a chance to stop, rest, or eat. So that's why they were very sad. All right, now let's go to the fourth question. Who sang a beautiful song? Now the answer to that fourth question is, we can write, a bird sang a beautiful song. Okay, let's go to the last question, the fifth question. And what was the fifth question, by the way? The fifth question was, did the landlord change his behavior? So what do you think? Did the landlord change his behavior? So what do you think about that based on the reading we did the last time? So yes, indeed, the landlord changed his behavior as he learned a lifelong lesson from the bird. See, that seems like the right answer because in the end, landlord changed his attitude towards his people and towards himself. So he became more of a liberal man, more of a a carefree man in a way. So yes, he changed his behavior and he also learned a lesson. Isn't that a good thing? Now another question we have is called, put these sentences in the right order. Now these sentences are all jumbled up in the wrong order, and it's our duty to put these sentences in the right order. First of all, let's read the sentences. These sentences are in the wrong order. Let's try to read them. The servants were very unhappy because they had to work hard all day. The birds sang a beautiful song. The bad landlord never smiled, he never laughed, and never danced. There was once a bad landlord. A bird lived high up in the sky. So all these sentences are in the wrong order, and it's our job, you know, to put these sentences in the right order. So let's try that. So if you just look at these 5 sentences, the first sentence that actually comes up in the story is this one. There was once a bad landlord. The second sentence is, the bad landlord never smiled, he never laughed, and never danced. And the third one is the servants were very unhappy because they had to work hard all day. Okay? And on number 4, we have a bird lived high up in the sky. And the last one is the bird sang a beautiful song. Now you can write the sentence in the proper order and, write your answer like this. You can write the sentences in the right order are given as follows. You can write like this, and you can just write 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 5 sentences. These 5 sentences, we can write them in correct order. I guess you can do that, right? Let's move on to the grammar section now. Alright, now we come to the grammar section of Unit 6. And like always, we've got 2 sections here. One is called Fun with Spelling and another is called Fun with Vocabulary. Okay, the first question is, rearrange the letters to make meaningful words. So that's the first question. Let's look at the first word. It's C-E-D-A-N and it's all jumbled up, and we can change this into D-A-N-C, dance, right? Let's look at the second one. It says S-G-I-N, and can you unjumble it? Sing, right? And this one, what does it look like? S-E-V-R-A-S-T-N. So I think it's servants. Yeah. Another one, S-M-I-L-E-I-L, smile, laugh. Now that's already okay. So, wow. Let's move on to Fun with Vocabulary section now. First question is done for you. It's a combination of 2 words. Land and lord becomes landlord. Likewise, you can break motor and bike into 2 because it's a combination of 2 different words. It's a single word, however, it consists of 2 different words. So we can break down those 2 words and write motor and bike. For example, for classroom, we can write class and room. For girlfriend, we can write girl and friend. For toothpaste, we can write tooth and paste. For blackboard, we can write black and board. Okay, let's move on to another section. Okay, let's come to something called pair work. Okay, we're going to do something called pair work. We are just going to read the conversation and enact the conversation. So we can also enact it very well. So let's start with the pair work conversation. It says, it's a conversation that goes between Prakash and Pooja. Hello, Pooja. Hi, Prakash. How was the party last night? Very lovely indeed. What did you do there? Well, I sang and danced. Wow, you had a great time there. How about you, Prakash? What did you do last evening? Well, I just laughed and laughed and laughed, and I laughed a lot. Oh, really? So that's the conversation that goes between Prakash and Pooja. You can act the conversation. You can go through the conversation over and over again as you like. So yes, do that. Enact the conversation. Go over the conversation over and over again. That's the pair work. Now we'll move on to the grammar portion. Now we've come to another section. It's called Fun with Grammar. Under this section, we are going to learn 2 things: simple present tense and past tense. So this is more like a practice session on tenses. So yes, these are the two things we're going to study: simple present tense and simple past tense. And we are going to find out the uses of simple present tense, the structure of simple present tense and simple past tense. And I'll also show you how to convert, or let's say how to switch between the tenses. Okay? How to convert simple present tense into past simple and vice versa. So I'm going to teach you that as well. Okay, we are going to learn structures and uses of these two tenses. So let's start with the structure of simple present tense. The structure of simple present tense is pretty simple. It contains a subject followed by a base verb and an object. So if I write a sentence like, I write a letter, I write a letter. Now this is a sentence in the simple present tense because it has a base verb and the base verb is write. The base verb is also known as V1 in some of the grammar books. So that is the basic structure, right? Let's look at the sentence once again. The I is the subject and all letter is in fact the object. And what we have in between subject and object as a breeze, or more like a connector, is the base verb. So base verb acts as the bridge or the connector between subject and object. Okay, I can give you another example. Sing a song. Now that is again in the present tense, simple present tense. In the subject position is I, and object position we have song, a song, and sing is the verb 1 or the base verb. Okay, that's the structure. Now you might ask me a question: what is the use of simple present tense? And its use is pretty simple. It talks about daily habits. It also explains about day-to-day happenings. Okay, now let's move on to the simple past tense. Now if you think about the structure of simple past tense, we have a very common structure, which is subject and past verb followed by object. The past verb is oftentimes called V2. Okay, so if I write a sentence like, I wrote a letter. Now in this sentence we have I in the subject position, or letter in the object position, followed by wrote as the past form of the verb. Or I can even write, I sang a song. And if I write I sang a song, I is the subject, a song is the object, and sang is the past verb. So you might ask me a question now: what are the uses of simple past tense? And it's pretty easy and pretty simple. The uses of simple past tense is to talk about past events and activities. Alright, now it's time for me to give you some homework, and your homework is going to be pretty simple. All you have to do is change these sentences from simple present to simple past. The first question is, we dance. Second is, they drink milk. And the last one is, she cooks dal bhat. So convert these sentences into simple past tense, and that's all your homework. With this, we've come to end of today's class. If you have any questions or suggestions regarding these video series, feel free to write us at learning@deerwalk.edu.np. Thank you.